Good morning, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Chico. Love is in this room. Love is right where each one of us is. So I say from love, good morning, beloveds. Good morning, beloveds. This morning's lesson, Achieving Spiritual Wisdom, Part 2, begins with how I finished last Sunday. And it is with the wisdom of Rumi. So this is where I'll begin today. Do not be satisfied with the stories that come before you. Unfold your own myth. Unfold your own myth. Well, Rumi's statement is basic to the process of achieving the wisdom that many of us seek. How? How does that work? I mean, why do I say that? This wisdom that we seek. Well, as we take a closer look at these two sentences this morning, I will endeavor to highlight the importance of that to our spiritual evolution. So the first part of that, do not be satisfied. Sam, this is a little reverberation here. Thank you. That's better. Do not be satisfied with the stories that come before you. Do not be satisfied with the stories that come before you. Well, I love a good story. I love a good story. So does Joan Vincent. She can tell a story. We should have storytelling Sunday. You know? We all love a good story. Stories can be fun. They can contain lots of drama. Yeah? And they can draw attention many times to the storyteller. Some make a lot of money telling stories. Some pay a lot of money with their stories to their psychiatrist, to their minister. So, comedians love stories. My love goes out to Joan Rivers today in her process of where she is in life. Stories can be a wonderful tool, can't they? Teachers use them. I'm telling one right now. So it's just a story. Life is a story. Stories, many times, are retelling the past. Right? Well, it's useful if you're a historian, many times. And it's beneficial, as I mentioned, in forms of counseling, because then we get to find out what has come before now, what needs to happen next. So stories are beneficial. They can always also keep us in the past. They can keep us stuck in the past. Our founder of Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes, tells us in the Science of Mind textbook, we should erase the thoughts of yesterday that would rob us of today's happiness. We should erase all those thoughts that keep us limited. The what was of our experience can be one of the greatest tools, however, to lift us to greater love and joy, and to peace, and to ultimately wisdom, if we, like the historian, are able to open those pages of that old book, our old past images, and see them for what they are, and more importantly, for what they were. I like to say, be mindful of the language we use. If it's going to be a what was in your life, don't say, well, this is my story. It needs to be, this was my story. Well, so there goes that story. But I have backup. Okay, on to the new page. So, when we change our language about what we tell ourselves, we create a new paradigm in our mind, the mind of God, and our creative aspect of who we are. And it is then that we're able to step into this greater understanding and on our way to achieving what I call spiritual wisdom. When our mental state is no longer overrun with the what was baggage, because it is baggage, it gets pretty heavy sometimes, then we are coming to the eye of the storm. We're leaving that old energy system, that old weather pattern of our emotion. And we're moving into a place of calm when we can say, well, that was, but I know the truth of who I am. It's the peaceful state of mind that I know for myself must be recognized as who I am. Because the first step of treatment is recognition. The recognition of Spirit, of God, as me, as you. And then go on to state what it is in this beautiful state of mind, in this clear moment, exactly what we believe is good for us. Not what anybody else might think is good for us. Because that's requesting from what was as well. You get that? Well, the truth of Spirit is where greater oneness is felt. We know when we're in the oneness, consciously. We've never left it. Our stories take us away. Our drama moves us out of this place in mind that is always here. You know, there is not any more oneness anyplace else than here or there. There is no more or less oneness. There's oneness. There is oneness. How could there be? How could there be? There's an old, I think it's a more fundamental statement about, God dumped me. God's mad at me. Whatever that means. But what I know is that the old question, well, who moved? Oneness doesn't move. Spirit doesn't move away from us. We don't say, I am enough. I am this oneness. I am of this Spirit. I am the spiritual DNA of all of life. So it's our mental state of awareness that shifts when we think we're out of oneness. Well, our teaching, Science of Mind, shares this. Our degree of livingness is determined by our mental and spiritual states. When we shift into our natural state of mind, recognizing our oneness and allowing the peaceful presence of God to be front and center in our lives, we assume our true place. This I refer to as the power position. We have power in our lives. Most times, I still get a little scared of it. Because it's just like, whoa, it's letting it loose to do what it does for us. We tend to doubt ourselves out of our goodness. And so the place of calm and knowing and love, of oneness and of faith, is where we return to. Faith in the present oneness, not the was or the maybes. Because when we're in the was or the maybes, we're around this eye of calm. We're around the eye of the hurricane. We're around the center of what is true for us. Don't get caught up in all the drama. All the drama. But we need faith. Faith. Full assurance in the heart. Faith, to me, is full assurance in the heart. Now, I do hear, but it's the felt presence of the heart. It's the loving presence that we know as Spirit. And there is a sense of the allness, of possibility, when we're in this faith place. There's unity. There's unity in this place. We feel the oneness, not with just ourselves, but with all of life. But what I know comes from a very basic childhood. We have to ask. I had to ask permission. But who was I asking when I was a kid? My parents. So I asked myself, do I give myself permission? Do I have the assurance within me that says, yeah, I'm worthy of that. I can take the next step up. We have to give ourselves permission many times to receive our good, or even ask for our good. So when we invite whatever experience, idea that is next for us, that's pretty big. It takes a lot of courage. But from the clear place, from the peaceful place, from the place of faith, we are assured that there will be this goodness. One idea I had to get past was that there's no one any better than you or I at this. We just have to start doing it. And the people you see that you admire, that you think are examples, this was also a childhood thing. My parents always said, if you like something about a person, or if they have something you like or want, go talk to them. You can have that. See what it is. Ask them. Invite yourself into what it is that they seem to do that maybe you like. And there are those that maybe you don't want to invite yourself into. That's good. That's wisdom. So, we are each in a process as wisdom students. Seeking, finding, seeking, finding, seeking, finding. It doesn't stop because we're evolving. There is a divine urge within you, and its loving nature creates the life you have. So, now hear this. Please hear this. We must be willing to ask for greater wisdom to be revealed through us, and have the faith to trust the next step. To evolve is always to move forward. We must take a step forward. The oak didn't say, oh, I don't want to grow out of this seed. I want to stay small. I want to stay small. And a lot of our ideas stay small because we don't give it the perfect compost of faith and trust and love. We don't, in this teaching, it's our mental atmosphere that creates the perfect place for ideas to grow. They can either grow with love, or they can stay dormant with fear. So, what I know about fear, besides its, thank you, Dr. Carolyn, false evidence appearing real, is that fear is the roundup to our achieving spiritual wisdom. It kills it at the root. Fear kills our evolution towards what we perceive as goodness. The second, unfold your own myth. Dr. Kennedy Schultz said, I make it my business to consider my spiritual origins within the genius of the greatest lives the world has known. Thus, my confidence grows. Each step up, I say, me, is a step into our divine birthright. Our right direction, if you will. We are meant to evolve and expand our minds. And understanding how magnificent this life, this oneness really is. And so, Each moment in this life is a departure from and a destination toward truth. So I would like to share a little bit about, speaking of evolving and being in the midst of wisdom, because both these last 2 weeks have been achieving spiritual wisdom. It was interesting sitting in this room on Friday night with Peg Bailey. And I don't know if you know who she is, but she's an intuitive, I would call her. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she said, oh, her guide, Raphael, see, it works for her. I trust what works for people. You know, if this is your guide, okay, you believe in something. It's spirit, everything is of spirit. So that's what I know about that. So she's sitting here talking about the guides tonight. The theme is wisdom. And I went, whoa. And the one guide, the one person in the group that was jumping up to answer the questions, coming forward in her mind, was Reverend Louis. And he said through her, which I find quite interesting, you know, there's a connection, there's a oneness, okay? He said, I want to tell them that I dressed up for them. And he had a blue suit, he said, white shirt, shiny shoes, and she did this, a blue and pink striped tie. This was Reverend Louis' tie. How did she know that? I don't know. But it was very, very one that night. And so, you know, it's our mission, should you choose to accept it, to see the oneness of life and not be as critical of it. You know, we can discount the good in our lives. We could kick it aside, but kick it to the curb. But everywhere we go, we're one. And so that's what I've come away with this last 2 weeks and with Friday night. And Peg said, Louis told her that he's here every Sunday. Look for him. He doesn't miss being with his family. So I think that's quite interesting too, you know? So there's love. Love never goes away. It does not die. Our physical presence might move away from us, but the presence, the spiritual presence, is always with us. So, as Rumi said, my beloveds, do not be satisfied with the stories that come before you. Unfold your own myth. Namaste. And so it is.